Hello and welcome to MotorInc First. Karthik has just returned from Gurugram, having driven the new Kia Syros. Syros? Syros, like the clouds.
Oh, Syros.
No, that's Syros.
Syros.
What is this name supposed to mean?
Don't care.
It's just a thing.
Just a thing.
Okay. How large is this car? So everybody understands what the reference is. WagonR.
Persona. So size is actually a very good place to start with this car because everything else about this car is going to be a little muddled.
Okay.
So size, unequivocally, it's bigger than the Sonet.
Oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it in the pictures.
So it's sub 4 meters in length, but height, width, it's actually more than the Creta also.
It doesn't look like it at all in the pictures.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot for me to set context for this car, and the larger question and the larger point to be made is, we keep saying, with Kia, you always joke, Kia. And in this, it's like, Kia. Because, and this is, so this is why this is going to be flashback.
Yeah.
Because it's a pattern that Kia has followed, and which is why I want to set this context right at the start.
Okay.
Kia does fantastic design, aesthetics, and cabin quality. That is now a given.
Right.
And on this front, like cabin quality, they've raised the bar again with the Syros. Design we'll get to later. But there's always something about the cars which will stumble a little bit.
Okay.
Like if in our office, there is a colleague of ours, Aditya, right? He has the first gen Seltos. It's his pride and joy. It's with the turbo petrol engine. He has the manual. That's one saving grace. And he came and started working at MotorInc, and I used to tell him about how rubbish the suspension was on that car. And he used to just listen to me, and he had no reference points. And then every car we've tested after that, and he's been like, this suspension is better than my car.
Yeah.
This suspension is better than my car. Right? So this has been a repeat story. And we recently, on Circles, I had posted, remember when I drove down to Nagpur, we took the Karens.
Correct.
And we took the diesel automatic.
Yes.
And it was such a pleasant surprise because the suspension tune was so nice. And then we immediately asked for the turbo petrol again after that, the Karens. So same spec, everything, but the turbo petrol. But the ride was not as good. The suspension tune was not as good.
Okay.
Right? And this is the big stumbling block with the Syros as well. So everything that we talk about today, I will describe the car to you. I will tell you what it's like. I think we can help you understand what to expect from the car a little bit. But today, can I recommend a Syros to you straight up? I can't. Okay? Because all the cars that we drove came with 17-inch wheels. The Sonet, on which platform this car is also based, the largest it uses is 16-inch wheels. And we've seen the same issue when Kia went to the 18s with the Seltos.
Yes.
They had been using 17s on that. They went to 18s, and again it went to, the suspension became rubbish again. They fixed it. And which is a story we've also done on MotorInc. You will not see it on YouTube because we've done far too many Seltos stories.
Right.
But there is a Seltos update video which will be there on the app. Right? Now there we talk about the suspension and how they fixed it.
So you're fundamentally saying that every time Kia grows in inches, things just, wheels grow in inches, problems with suspension.
Yeah, the way I'm thinking about it is that somewhere they are so focused on putting on the lipstick and the makeup and dressing up well,
They've forgotten
to lace up their shoes or to put on the belt.
Got it.
It's just fundamental things which in the process of living with that look, it gets in the way. And so therefore, straight up with that out of the way, we can now discuss the Syros, everything else about the Syros.
I just point this out. This is the diametric opposite of where the Kailak story started, if you remember correctly.
Dude,
it's the diametric opposite.
You remember you ended the Kailak discussion saying that, is it going to be 3 in a row?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you straight up, honest. I told him before, these two drives were literally back to back for us.
Yeah.
It was going to be that I go to Goa, drive the Kailak. I then fly straight from Goa to Gurugram to drive the Syros. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. Because like I said, I had concerns about the Kailak. And I was sure that Kia will get this quite right, because I like the funkiness of the design.
Yep.
It's out there a little bit. It reminds you of the Yeti, which is always for me, a happy thought. All
Yep.
of those things, right? And so we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to drive the Kailak.
Yep.
We'll do that MotorInc First, so that we don't cross-reference them too
Correct.
much. And then we'll go drive the Syros. And I'm glad I did that, because I think it would have got too muddled and not so nicely for the Syros.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, not so nicely for the Syros.
Yeah, because the thing that worked for us so nicely on the, I hate nicely, nice, worked so well on the Kailak was the suspension. And that was a good thing to see that they fixed it. And this back and forth, we've seen constantly with Kia. Like,
So basically, if you were to follow the same pattern down the road, if you're thinking of buying a Syros, wait. In about a year and a half, Kia will have the updated suspension setup that will solve all the issues that you're facing right now.
absolutely. Which is why I can't recommend one to you right now. In this also, there's a caveat. We only rode the cars with the 17-inch wheels. The lower variants, the lowest has 15s. The ones in between have 16s.
15s.
15s. So the absolute lowest one has 15-inch wheels, and the top spec has 17s. In between, there are 16s.
Got it.
So the 16s
Might actually work.
might be okay. I don't think they'll fundamentally be great. And again, going back to the Sonet, Sonet suspension was not great. Sonet's turbo petrol engine tune was not great.
Correct.
They fixed all of this,
And it became good.
and it became great to where it's become our top pick in the space.
Yeah.
Right? And today, also for me, it remains. And I had thought that the Syros will just take up that spot for me.
It's the same with the Karens.
Yeah.
Initial car, you said it's a little soft, it's a little wallowy. Then you came back from Nagpur and you said they fixed it.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And these are the things that really stop the car from being, and for all Kias today, now I have to put this caveat out there, this is what we experienced. But if you buy it a year later,
May not be the same car.
I don't know if it's going to be the same.
So we'll just schedule an annual Kia road test series.
We'll need a separate team for that.
We'll put a team together for this. So every year in March will be Seltos month. Then April will be Karens month, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the idea will be we'll just reevaluate whether they've changed their setup and fixed these issues or not. If not, if yes, we'll update the view.
Yeah. पूरा साल निकल जाएगा as they add to their lineup. So
back to the Syros.
Back to the
Syros.
Okay. So outset, I was damn excited to meet the car, and like I said, I like the Yeti. It's always been.
Sorry, since we're on design, where did this WagonR thing come from? Because when I saw it on social, remember, there's usually a gap between us seeing a car and us reacting to a car. Whenever the Syros would come up, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with the name. Whenever the Syros thing would come up, they'd be like, "Hey, WagonR, where is this connection being made?"
I think because of that boxy shape.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's really very vertical. And I get it. In some ways, I get it. Because after having spent time with the car, after having seen it, you get the vibe that it's a slightly scaled up kind of look. And in this sense, why it hasn't worked for me as an emotional decision also is the design and the proportions of the car.
Okay.
So for instance, design I will leave, is more the proportions of the car, because it is tall. It's taller than a Creta. It's taller than a Seltos, right? It's a tall car. So much so that when I sat in the car and I was driving and I reached to adjust the IRVM, I had to stretch for it.
In inner rearview mirror, ORVM outside, IRVM inside.
Right? So I had to literally lean forward and reach for it like that. So it has that, that's how high the roofline is. That's how far away the windscreen is. So it has this massive sense of space. So the way I'm going to put it in terms of how to figure this car out, the way it makes sense to me, is that I'm not comparing it to the Sonet. I'm not comparing it to the Seltos. To understand what it feels like to be on the inside is more like, think of the Karens. Think of it as a small car.
MPV.
Yeah. It's a Chotu MPV.
Okay.
And that's it feels impersonal on the inside. It's lovely, it's well appointed. And I think this is where Kia, we've always said, credit to Kia, they know how to twist things around to get our interest and work around ideas so that they work for us, they appeal to us. Like a Karens, we've said, the Karens is a brilliant case study because no other MPV can get close to the Innova and survive.
Yep.
but the Karens does well.
Yep.
Right? So the same thing, if you look at this fundamentally, take away the extra features, take away the funky design. What is it other than a WagonR that's scaled up? The other credit that I can give it, the one car that I used to absolutely love was the Jazz, which was a hatchback, but
Yes.
MPV like. It
Correct.
was lovely.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So this is, in that sense, an intelligent package. They have added in features like the sliding second row to increase luggage space at the back, recline the seat back, second row seats, really recline. So if you want to lounge out, awesome. And that's the one thing. The twist in this story from Kia standpoint is that this is actually a sedan idea. That back seat is exceptionally good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is very good because in the Seltos, under thigh supports, not as good as the Creta.
Correct.
This is awesome. Like, it's set nice, and it reminded me again on that front of the Karens, where Karens, we've said the captain seats are set nice and high up. It's like that. So the support from the seats and the cushioning for the seats is firmer. So all those little details are hitting home to create the sense that you would enjoy spending time in the backseat of this car.
Nice. Better than Basalt?
Basalt nails several things to get that experience right. And that's suspension.
Correct.
Basalt is beautiful.
That's why I brought it up.
It's a conversation we've had even at that drive with other people, saying that today the best backseat is the Basalt. There's no
With the cut.
with or without, even because the suspension, I mean, it makes such a massive difference. The sound insulation, all of that, it really was so good.
Okay, sorry I distracted you. Let's go back
No,
to the
no,
cabin.
it's a very good point. It's a very good point because there are different now body styles that are providing you a solution which we have tied to a body style, which is the sedan body style,
Correct.
saying that that's the backseat experience.
Yeah.
But today you have this SUV coupe. Now you have this box which is offering you, no, literally.
Wagon type R.
So yeah, it's, but the idea over here is if you want a family car and the back seat is the priority, this
is a
car
good one.
will make so much sense. And the luggage space, solid, right? 390 liters at the least and 460.
So 390 actual, 460 marketing.
No, because it slides, no. So they have
Oh,
to give
like
both
that.
the
Okay.
figures.
Not to the roof like Hyundai.
Boot space is genuinely usable. It's good. So the practical, family-oriented aspects of the luggage space being great, of the boot space, of the back seat being good, solid. And of course, it has at the top spec variant, the top two variants get the ventilated seat base for extra comfort. And
Back seat. No, driver.
so driver's seat though has seat base and seat back.
The back seat has just base.
Only the seat base.
Okay.
So they said that it's because of a packaging limitation. If they had to put it in the seat back as well, they would end up consuming more space.
Got it.
So they would eat into the amount of room they're offering in the back seat. And they're saying these kind of fixes that they'll look at doing in future updates.
If there is enough demand and question. Fair enough.
So I'm sure they'll look at doing these things for sure. So that aspect of it, the functional basics of it are solid. The WagonR is super popular. And the reason why you would not want this car to come across as a functional vehicle is because then it'll get pegged directly like that.
Correct.
By doing all these twists of loading it up with equipment, making its exteriors look so dramatic, you can't really put it into that box easily.
Yeah.
You yourself fight back against it. But the reason the WagonR is so popular is because it's so easy to get in and out of.
Yeah.
For elders in the family, it's lovely.
It's a great car.
And
Yeah.
older, like so many of my family members, they are 70 plus. They all love the WagonR. They're still driving. And they choose the WagonR because of that convenience. And you get it, that this is a different space. So we had this conversation going on like, who is this car really for? Is it for youngsters? Is it for older people? Is it for families? Who is it for? Because the design is so funky. But then is it for older people?
Correct.
The backseat is great for families. But I mean, do you need such a big car then just for city use? Like, why would you just, if it's just for four? Because this car can accommodate three in the back. But it's not dramatically better as a five-seater.
Yeah.
Right? So that means it's still primarily a four-seater. So do you need that? It's a mix of things. So clear cut, who is it for? Question mark right now. If you're looking at it from latest, greatest feature set, okay, sure, that's and this price range, nobody else is offering you this kind of space, that backseat convenience, comfort features, whatever, all of that stuff. So, fundamentally, as a practical car, it's a great base. It's a great pick from a family use standpoint because of the flexibility of the space, the luggage space, the ease of, even newer drivers can get in and get comfortable because of the amount of space on offer. And I honestly, when I was driving around, I felt a little bit like a mannequin in a shop display, like because everybody can see it. There's so much glass area. It's literally like, yeah, I'm on show, I'm on display here or something like that.
Oh, so it's a car for influencers.
Sorry?
It's a car for influencers.
Yes. So it's a car that definitely will not go unnoticed. And you will not go unnoticed. And in that sense, the design, for me, didn't quite work in person. I think the bit that I liked the most was the rear. It reminded me of the Kia Soul, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it reminded me of the Soul and from the rear, and that was the angle that I liked the most. The rest of it was like, I think the cladding for the wheel arches was too much. Just looked a lot of grey plastic there. The colors are nice, and the design is EV-like we've seen with the bigger EVs, the imports. But it's nice, but it didn't work for me. Like, going in saying that I like quirky cars. Like, I own an Ignis. I'm saying I like the Jazz. I like the Skoda Yeti. Going into this, just because of the proportions, it just started feeling a little impersonal.
Did you ask Kia why this car had to be so far out there in terms of design? Why a normal family-like car would be so polarizing in terms of how it presents?
No, I did not ask that. Okay. Because this is something, I think, if you see globally, this is a trickle down. It's again coming down to the size. Why did they choose that size? Is the question that I don't get. Because in the front seats, if you're somebody who wears a turban, headroom is not going to be an issue. Even then you'll have, but that much more, I don't really get. So it's wrapping itself up to present itself to be a stylish and cool pick, but its fundamentals are based on practicality. Okay. Right? And in that sense, the practical aspect of it, the ride comfort, should have been better. Now, in this, the saving grace is that the diesel, again, with the automatic, is the one that I drove last. And that with the 17-inch wheels, because it's heavier, I think it rode better than the turbo petrol with the 17-inch wheels. Okay. The turbo petrol is lighter. So if the suspension is set for the diesel, so typically what manufacturers will do is they'll set the car up for one variant as the specific base, and the rest have to live with
whatever compromises that means. Yeah.
So I think it worked for the diesel, where it felt softer. Now, the upside in this, the good thing in this was, compared to the Sonet pre-facelift, where it used to crash, like it used to go cut every now and then. This doesn't do that. It just feels firm throughout. So when you're going over, again, I went to Leopard Trail and that road is nicely broken up. So going over those sections, it's not like it's crashing where you feel like, I need to slow down and go easy over this. It's like, I can roll over it, but I'll just grit my teeth, right? It just goes like that. So it's not a pleasant feeling. Okay. And in a car like this, which is all about comfort, which is all about taking it easy and chilling out,
you'd want a lot more.
That.
Does Kia have a larger variation from petrol to diesel in terms of setup versus other manufacturers?
Let's think about it. Diesel versus petrol. Who else can I compare with? Is the reference point I'm going to just now, because it's Hyundai and Kia that's offering. So we have Tata as well, which has petrol and diesel. So there the variation is not as much.
Because if I remember our conversations about Kias, offline and online, it seems to be that Kia seem to be more sensitive to the change of engine than many other brands of cars, where they seem to find better compromises in suspension setup between a heavier diesel and a lighter petrol. But Kia always seems to wind themselves up a little bit between the wheel sizes and the weight of engine.
I think they end up doing a little too much, because this, again, the step up from 16s to 17s, along with making the car bigger. And now this is based on the Sonet platform, but it's a bigger car. The wheelbase is longer by 50 mm. It's using 17-inch wheels. It's also going to be carrying heavier load, so it has to be retuned for all of that. How much was it fine-tuned? I don't know. I can't. They say that it's been made softer, but does that mean it automatically feels more plush and more comfortable? Definitely
No, it doesn't sound like it at all.
no. Like I went there thinking that this is going to be my next default pick in this segment,
Right.
despite the higher price tag and all of that. But I've come away saying that, nah, I'd much rather buy a Sonet. The Sonet's boot space is still good. That back seat isn't as spacious as this, no two ways. But you can have adults, as long as they're not 6-footers, sit in the back comfortably. They fixed that back seat as well with the facelift.
Correct.
So these are all the things where it sits right now. And the thing that they've again done brilliantly is the cabin. Like, it's just so impressive. And again, they've taken I love how they do some of these things. They've taken a completely new design language.
Okay.
Right? You know how usually you'll have designs broken up horizontally? They have designs broken up vertically.
Okay.
So if you look at the door pad is slashed down the middle. Okay, this is gray and that's a light gray, like that, and there's a sash in the middle. And the same theme gets carried forward to everything. Like, you look at the gear lever, it's there. You look at the knobs for the aircon vents, for the sliders. Over there also you'll see that same band running and the split being slightly like that. So those aspects of it, the plastics, again, they've used glossy gray in this, and which is beautifully done. We used to piano black. This is gray and looks really good. Like, this looks premium.
Nice.
Now, if only they delivered the suspension to back it up.
Got it. Which in a year and a half they will.
Yeah, in a year and a half. Correct. So that's the thing, which is why I started with that. I was going to end saying this. Okay, just wait a bit.
Yeah.
That's about it. You'll get an update. And Kia themselves are aware of this. They understand that there are things like this, but how it's working, these tweaks and changes aren't clear on the inside.
So timeline-wise, ab Kia Syros and Kab Kia Syros, right? Kab Kia Syros comes first. It has minor issues. Then ab Kia Syros, year and a half later, fixed.
Yeah. So the cabin, the finish, so good.
Space, sense of premium, feature set is completely how you expect Kias to be.
And again, raising the bar.
Again, raising the bar.
Because they've got larger screens now, 12.3-inch screens, 2. And
just 2?
And there's a third, there's a 5-inch screen between the two 12.3-inch screens.
Whoa, why?
Yeah, so that one's so dedicated screen for your aircon controls from the top spec, higher variants. Okay, a good thing is, now this is another lesson to be learnt in this, that you can get sucked into features, but they don't really change your life. As much as that screen was good to use, you had physical buttons there. They are there. Thankfully, they are there. On the low variants, there's a full array of them, all easily accessible. On the higher variants, where it was auto, this and that, even then you had the nice toggles, easy to use. This was convenient because it's right next to the steering. But yeah, okay, I don't really need that. It's not an absolute must-have for me. Right? The seat base at the back ventilated. Okay, great. I mean, it's nice. It's a good feature to have. Tomorrow you'll have it for the backrest as well, and then it'll be fantastic. But then I'll wait for that. Right?
And sunroof?
Oh,
to have all the hot air coming out of the ventilated seat go out the top.
Massive. This also has panoramic sunroof.
Sare bacche sukhao. Thanks, Vikas.
Full family. So massive panoramic sunroof, and that sunroof is also available from mid-spec variants.
Of course.
So the loading on the vehicles, even the base. So in terms of price, this starts at a little over the Sonet. But that's okay, because this is only coming with the turbo petrol. And the Sonet's base variants otherwise get the 1.2 liter engine, which is quite dull. So that slight premium to the Sonet is understandable, and it's well equipped. So it's not that it's a poor base variant, it's reasonable. We'll talk about the variants at the end.
That is the 15-inch wheel version that you
That is the 15-inch steel wheels.
Yeah, we'll come back to variants.
Yeah, we'll come back to variants. So to drive, easy car, impersonal car. Like, did I enjoy driving?
So not a driver's car in terms of engagement and involvement.
Is it neat? Yeah, it's neat. It's fairly effortless with the turbo petrol and the automatic. I drove it even with the manual. The clutch was reasonably light. The engine, the reason I drove the manual was because we've not driven this engine with the manual
At all.
since the facelift retune. So this was the first time. We've only driven it with the IMT, if at all, if not the DCT, right? And it was a good way to test the low end grunt of this engine. And yeah, as we've experienced with the DCT, smooth, easy to drive at low revs.
This automatic is the DCT.
Yes. So the turbo petrol comes with a dual clutch automatic, the 7-speed. The diesel comes with a 6-speed torque converter.
Got it.
Right. So the turbo petrol on the Sonet, we've driven with the dual clutch or with the IMT.
Right.
Right. The IMT sadly is not available with the Syros
At all.
at all.
Why?
So Kia is saying that the customers don't want it. Customers just don't.
So okay, I have a question here. If it's the intelligent manual transmission and your customers don't want it, what does that say about your customers' intelligence?
So the perception plays such a big part now, and this is
But the IMT is a good system, if I remember correctly.
very good. And in fact, that's been the one that we've been recommending. I've recommended it to my friends to go for that over if they, some people are a little hesitant about going for a dual clutch. And I said, this is a good solution. And especially with the retuned engine and with the IMTs, they've become better. So now it's a great solution, right?
But for some reason on the Syros, they're anticipating this will not be something.
They're saying generally the trend is going downward for IMTs.
So you just might as well have a full-on automatic.
So like Hyundai used to often offer the IMT as well. Hyundai stopped offering the IMT on a lot of their models now. Like I think the Venue still has it, but they don't have it on the Seltos at all, Creta at all.
Okay.
Whereas Kia has it on the Seltos.
Still.
Yeah. So it's a perception thing. So people look at it as a little down market or hey, what is this technology? Is it really good? So there are those kind of doubts. But actually it's a great solution. If you haven't driven one, you don't have to buy one. Drive it and see so that you're at least aware of the options available.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? In the other cars where it's available. So we drove both the turbo petrol with the automatic and with the manual. Friendly engine, easy to drive engine. Like I said, not really involving, effective.
But for an MPV, this is okay.
Yeah. And again, on those winding roads of Leopard Trail, what surprised me was that it felt reasonably neat also through the corners. For this tall car, it was fine. It was better than I expected. It's road holding and all, better than I expected. So that was good. And on that note, ground clearance is 190 mm.
Oh, okay.
So the Sonet is 200 something. So it's a little lesser. Wheelbase is also longer. So keep that in mind. So that will impact performance. But by and large, it was okay over those bumps and all of that.
Got it.
The diesel felt, of course, a little bit even easier to drive because of the additional grunt, because the suspension tune felt better. Again, neither of them felt enthusiastic. The diesels, anyways, we keep feeling that they're getting a little bit duller and duller as they have to meet with emission norms and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that toned down, and for this smaller car, I understand. Yeah, so that was the Syros, by and large. This, in terms of equipment, the one change was it got the Harman Kardon sound system, which is good because usually they have Bose. This one has a Harman Kardon system. It was good, again enjoyable, but
average or just above average.
Better than average for sure, but not that wow of the Sonet's Bose system or the Verna's Bose system. So good that way. I think suspension tune, even on the highway, you could feel it to be a little floaty at times. There was just inconsistency on that front, right? There's a little bit of firmness here, but a little bit of floatiness there. Sound insulation could and should have been a little bit better as well for a car of this kind to really nail that experience of being a family, chill travel machine. I think it could have done that. And that's the thing. I keep coming back to, I've missed the jazz. This could have been a new generation jazz experience where it's focused on family, it's focused on practicality, but it's still cool.
Yeah.
But it just does end up feeling, because of the height of it, because of the like really incredible roominess, it ends up feeling a little impersonal. And in that sense, you can draw that line to the Wagoner. When you sit in the front of the Wagoner, you know how it just feels like, yeah, okay. Like, and I respect the Wagoner. I really respect the Wagoner, right? But you don't feel emotionally connected to it. You respect it, but you don't feel emotionally connected to it. So there is that sense when I'm driving it that it's for a greater purpose, and that's my family in the back,
Hmm.
and that's why I'm choosing this vehicle.
Got it.
Right? Whereas the Jazz with its slightly sleeker form still felt more personal. The Yeti with its slightly closer proportions
Yeah.
again was more connected in the way it drove. So those kind of expectations, maybe unrealistic or thoughts that remain, are unfulfilled.
I can see that you understand what this car is about, but you're not super kicked about what it has turned out to be.
It could have still been a car worth recommending to people if it had got its suspension right, at the very least. Right? Because I cannot go on saying that, okay, try this engine with that gearbox, with that variant, because it has the 16-inch wheels versus the 17-inch
So
wheels
in
and
that
the
sense, they got the name right.
What?
Think about it. If this was the Sai Joey, it would be a more personal car. And then because it didn't feel like it, you'd
Sai
feel like,
Joey.
yeah, but it's Sai Ross. Ross was not always that personal a character. It's fine.
Sai Joey.
Right? If it was Sai Joey, friends, it's personal. You feel for that guy, right? But Sai Ross, who out there is a Ross fan? No one. Right? Right?
Yeah, so yeah, this one is, hey, wait and watch. Let's look at what Kia does with their updates, and I hope that Kia can put a stop to these need for updates in the first place.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I missed, design wise, some details which stayed with me. You look at the ORVMs, they have this slight angular shape to them, and that design theme also carries through. And interestingly enough, you see that reflecting in the key fob, and this is the same key fob that you got as a cool looking thing that's first came with the Carnival. Right? So we saw it there because it came with the new electronic architecture underneath,
Right.
which is what is used for these screens as well. So the cool new design we saw, the layouts on the Carnival, is here on the Syros.
Got it.
So those modern bits have also come through on the car, which make it feel a bit of a step ahead of the others
Got it.
from Kia right now. So yeah, so this is, in that sense, Kia's take on a sedan, Kia's take on being a family compact MPV and all of that, and it could very well do that, but just not yet.
So maybe do you think that it's the fact that they tried to take on so many ideas and try to get them into one car that causes some of this confusion?
I think so. I think this was a particularly tough formula that they're trying to crack, and they've given it their usual twists, but it's not worked out as well as I would have expected, considering all the other products. Like we spoke about the Sonet. They fixed the issues with the Sonet.
Yeah.
They've raised it to a bar where we are saying it's our top pick in the segment. We've seen the Seltos.
Yeah.
Seltos had issues. They fixed the issues with the Seltos. Right? Brought it to a nice level.
Correct.
And now you come back with a new product and you're again saying, hey, I'm waiting for you to come up here. Right? So it's just like, okay, when you get up here, then we'll talk.
Yeah. You should also know we've driven this car a reasonable amount. When it comes for view, then the environment that we test in becomes a lot more stable. So the opinions will become a lot more firm. But usually when it starts like this, the view story is not going to go very far from where we've been so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an area of, let's say, I could be off by, say, 10%, 15%, okay, 20%. But this is the thing that holds me back from saying I enjoyed being in the car, right? And that one, when you enjoy, like the Kailak is a great parallel, right? Is it going to be absolutely the best car to go over rough roads? May not be.
May not be, yeah.
But it was a great car to drive, and that's going to remain. I mean, I would be shocked if that's not the case when the car comes here for test drives.
Yeah, if it doesn't turn out to be, that will be a huge surprise.
Yeah, that'll be a shocker.
Yeah, and you should also like to bring motorcycles into it here, because why not? If you go outside this country, test a motorcycle, and your first reports seem to suggest the suspension too stiff, which has happened to a bunch of recent Royal Enfields. To me, that's a red flag straight away.
Right.
In somebody coming to India and testing a bike for the first time and going away with an impression of suspension can change dramatically, because the roads can be dramatically better outside. Right? It's not like all of our roads are terrible, but many of our roads are in bad shape one way or another. But when the other happens, I went to Europe and I went to Spain or California, whatever, rode a bike and oh my God, that felt a little stiff. Flag. When it gets here, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And just so you know that we, before we, even those, of the 3 cars that we drove, we had checked tire pressures on 2 of them. Only the petrol manual was the one that we did not settle down on. They had limited cars of that, and that I was only going to focus on for the drivability, engine drivability, and clutch. So I was not too bothered about that. But both the other cars had been parked separately for us. The pressures were checked on both the cars at the same time in the morning. And then I went out to drive them. So they were a little bit higher than what they should have been. They were set. So we take all that trouble so that when we talk to you about this, it's with the least amount of hesitation possible.
Yeah.
Right? Which is not to say that we can't get things wrong. Yes, we can. Which is why I'm saying that if you're interested in this, and I understand completely that people will be tempted by this for sure. And I get it. But do it with your eyes open. Go out, experience for yourself, and like I said, maybe the mid variants with the 16-inch wheels might end up feeling better. But whatever we have driven did not with the 17s.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so what are the basics that we didn't cover? Yes, this is based on the Sonet's platform, but it's a modified one. We said its wheelbase is longer.
Track is the same, wheelbase is longer.
No, track is also
Track is
wider,
also wider.
which is why it feels so wide in the cabin. It's got it's wider by 15 mm, so that's wider, and the overall shape has been made boxy to liberate that space.
More space, yeah.
Which is why the seats can slide back,
Got
and
it.
still you have so much luggage room. So that is so the track width is more, and the weight has gone up. That's the other thing. The weight has gone up some 120 or 150 kilos. So they have beefed up this platform, and again, of course, crash test ratings.
Which is it out? Not
No,
yet.
it's not out, but they are obviously saying that, hey.
7 stars. Oh no, it's not a hotel. I'm so sorry. 5 stars.
Okay, now we can quickly run through the variants. So the top spec variant.
Prices first, then variants.
Prices first? Okay, wait. Let me just get to that. So this price is 9 to 17 lakhs, which means it's
17 lakhs is what we said for the Kailak VRS, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. We were guessing what the price would have been if there was a
So
VRS.
this is for the top spec diesel automatic with the 360-degree camera, with the ADAS, and 6 parking sensors. It gets 4 as standard, front and rear, but the top spec variant gets another 2. Because this is one of the things that people will come to the questions. So it goes from 9 to 17, which means at the lower end it's a little bit more than the Sonet. At the top end it's a little bit more than the Sonet. But considering the extra equipment, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have gone overboard with the price.
Okay.
It's where we expected
So
it to
both
be.
ends you're saying we understand why this pricing would be like this.
The price is fine, right?
Okay.
On basis what is on offer right now in the market, it is fine given what the extra equipment available with this car
Got
is. And this is one of the things which I feel why the Syros has come into existence as well.
Okay.
Because we are 2020 was Seltos.
Yeah.
So we are coming close to the new Seltos. And I would think that the new Seltos is going to get bigger, more expensive, and all of that. And suddenly then, for people who are in this price range for a family vehicle, there's going to be a bit of a void. And so the Syros can bridge that gap when that Seltos arrives.
Okay.
So this is kind of like a preparation for that phase. So which will be a year down the line.
Yeah.
And by then this should be sorted out. So that's the only reason that the Syros really, in that scenario, the Syros starts making a lot of sense to me.
Got it.
When that time comes, when the Seltos becomes more expensive, it becomes bigger, etc. And people are like, I don't want something that big. I don't want something that expensive.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
still works for my family. There you go.
Got it.
Right?
Variants.
Quickly to run through.
There are 92 variants.
No.
No, sorry, that's Tata.
So they've Kia has also
There are
simplified their
65
lineups.
variants. No, that's Hyundai.
I don't have a count on how many they have. Basically saying that you get, I've missed out on one of the most important things. A Hyundai and Kia that gets wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Finally. Yeah. So finally you get it. And it's available from the base variant. Okay. So that's the other thing. So one of those massive 12.3-inch screens
It's a CarPlay screen.
is your infotainment screen, and it's available from base. So which is what I mean. Like when it's
So CarPlay, air conditioning, top model only. CarPlay, air conditioning, and driver's information display.
yeah.
Nice.
So even the 12.3-inch screen for the driver is on the top two variants. It's not available on the other variants. The other variants get the 3-part digital screen, which used to come with the Karens, and you would have seen the Verna's variants as well. So that's the screen that you get on all the other cars. Don't need it. It's fine. You don't need the 5-inch touchscreen for the air conditioning because the other controls are really good. And oh, sorry.
Hey, hang on. The high variant has that and that.
Yeah.
Duplicated.
That's what. And I'm pleased. Yeah, please keep it that way. At least.
No. I'm not saying the duplication is a bad thing. I'm saying then that screen is just there naam ke vaste.
Yeah. You know why it's there? I'll tell you why it's there.
Khali tha wahan pe.
You know, we said in the Mahindras.
Oh yeah, huge bezels you said between the screens.
And there are 3 screens. So there's gap 1, gap 2. So they fill that gap up with this screen. And please understand, every time we yearn for features like this, it's your money that's going out of your pocket, which I don't know. I at least in my house, it's not growing on trees.
Oh, so that's what the TFT stands for. It's not but thin film transistor or whatever nonsense. It's totally for Tushin. It has no purpose.
I thought it was transfer funds today.
That's even better. The top variant has a 5-inch TFT screen. TFT is transfer funds today.
And in this regard, we're talking about technology that's not really helping you all that much. Are those pop-out door handles? This also has pop-out door handles. So these are not motorized, which means when you want keyless entry, first you go up to the door handle, you tap it in, then it unlocks the car, then you tap it again to pull out the handle.
So like an old Maruti.
Old Maruti.
You remember they had a request button, you had to press that button and the car would unlock. You remember the little black button?
So, but that's one action, right? That you could do it with your thumb or whatever, right? Like that if it's the grab handle.
It's like this and then like that.
So now first you go poke it. Then
pops out.
Then it doesn't pop out. You have to then, because it's not motorized, it doesn't have any of that. So you tap at the other end, then push at the other end. So the lever comes out, then you yank at it. So all these things, and I feel there's such a waste. They are such a waste. Like cars which have it motorized. Why do I need it? Why do I need it? It's really complicating things. For motors add weight. Motors are consuming more energy. Anytime you damage your door, that means if that motor needs to be changed, it's additional cost. It's unnecessary. And this is all that we are begging for ourselves to get into trouble. Anyways. So yeah, 6 airbags, everything, proper TPMS available from the base variant. So that way.
Fully loaded.
Yeah. Sunshades from the base variant. So the low variant also, in terms of if you just look at value, content that's available.
It's not a decontented car.
No, it's good. Right? Does it have everything that the Sonet will have at that price point? No. But it's a bigger car and all those additional.
Right.
So the variant where it really is the third variant, HTK Plus, because that's the variant.
What?
HTK Plus.
HTK Plus, sorry.
So that's the variant from which you start getting the sliding second row with the split folding seats. So that little bit of the maza of this car comes in over there.
Got it.
And plus, that's the variant. You also get panoramic sunroof and all of that. Yeah. So the wow factor is from HTX because that's where you get LED headlamps, LED tail lamps, leatherette upholstery, and ventilated seats at the front.
That's HTX.
HTX. But if you want the rear ventilation function and all of that, that's HTX Plus. So that's
HTK Plus, HTX, and HTX Plus is the 3 that you mentioned so far.
Correct.
Got it.
And the HTX Plus is the one with 17-inch wheels, and that's my reason to not get one.
Got it.
Right? Now, the sad part is that the diesel automatic is only available in the top spec.
So if you want a diesel, you're going to have to get the HTX Plus.
If you want the diesel automatic, you can get the diesel manual.
Understood.
Then तुमको नीचे जाना पड़ेगा. Right? So that's the complication of the entire thing. I really respect Maruti because they have this engine, this transmission, this engine, this transmission. It's just simple. There's no complication. You know exactly what you're getting.
No, but see, Maruti is not helping MotorInc at all. If your variant spread is that simple, what will you use? Ask an expert for.
Oh, in that sense, Kia is very good. Kia is definitely helping us because their variant lineup keeps changing. So in between us having had done that story on the new Seltos, some other variant got introduced, some other variant got discontinued. So it's constantly evolving.
I have two disruptive ideas that we will discuss after the quick summary. I think we can change the automotive industry.
And when you drive the Syros, whether you understand the suspension and all of that part of it or not, just try one thing out. Feel the stalks on the right hand side of the steering wheel and feel the stalk on the left hand side. The weight of the two stalks is different, how they work. So these are those kind of inconsistencies that I just don't get. The cup holders,
We'll modify one of the stocks, then it won't be stock anymore.
the non-stock stock, we need a non-stock stock for the left hand side because the weight, if I remember correctly, for the right hand stock is better, is nice, is how you'd expect, and this one just feels a little light. And then there are the cup holders. So the higher variants get these very nice looking cup holders with adjustable this and that, but they're so deep that if I actually had a coffee, I had coffee that day, yeah, and I put it inside, it went so far inside, then it was like, oh, how do I pick it up again now out of that?
No way.
Yeah. And then you go to the lower variant where
This is because this is a cross-cultural car and India doesn't have a coffee culture. I didn't say that. The Tata guys who didn't put the not the Starbucks Tata guys, the Tata guys who built the Nexon or the Curve, which one
this
was
is
it?
the curve.
The Curve.
Actually,
They said
happened in
India
both.
doesn't have coffee culture, you don't need cup holders.
So I was, see, I'm not making it up. You do need coffee every once in a while. So I got into the car and I put it inside and I was like, yeah, how do I get it out now? Because then I was fumbling with the cap.
Right.
So I literally drove out of the hotel and there was a guy standing there from the team. I said, can you please just take this and toss it? I can't take it out in the car because 100% it's going to spill.
Yeah.
Then I drove the manual, which was in the lower variant. So that didn't have those fancy cup holders. These are those cup holders where things pop out so that it becomes a more snug fit. And
One
all
of those.
that,
Okay.
right? It had the normal.
I don't know why they spring load those things that pop out. Why can't they motorize it?
Oh, yes, that would be more useful. So the lower variant had regular kind of cup holders, and those were more convenient. Like you can see that they're shallow, and I would put anything that it'll stay there. I can get it back out easily. So yeah, these are those inconsistencies that I just don't get. I'm sorry if this is coming across as a rant, but I remembered another thing. On the higher variant, and seriously, the higher variants are getting the powered seats. It's four-way adjustable, if I'm not wrong. So in that, the seat doesn't rise flat. You remember the
Correct.
other ones?
It rises like this?
It tilts up like that, right? It pivots more towards.
Got it.
As though there's
I don't like those seats.
Whereas the manual,
Then it rises up.
Come on. This is too much variation in too many things. These are the basics. These are
this
the
car
basics.
really got under your skin. Huh?
I mean, it's like I want to like this car.
Yeah.
But
no, but that's the default for us, no? You want to like every car as much as I want to like every motorcycle, but you can't have everything that you want.
and everything.
Sabko pyar kiya to kya kiya?
Kia. So you know now why I started off with Kia.
Yeah,
because it's all coming back to me. Like, and these are those details which will sit in my notes. And some of these, like the indicator stock things, isn't even in my notes, but it's there in my head that did feel the same. It just didn't.
You're just nitpicking now because you don't like the suspension. Now you're finding more things.
Probably. Yeah.
You know how you have a wound and you keep scraping away at it and it started as a scratch and now it's like a huge gash.
Yeah, so I guess you can go with that. I'm being unreasonable. That's good. I'm happy with that.
Okay, that's it. I'm doing a quick summary now. He's scribbling now. Ready for the quick summary? Today we're talking about the new Kia Monica. Today we're talking about the Kia Syros.
It's actually the Sci-Fi B. It is the Sci-Fi B. Because it's all over the place. You don't know where it's going.
If you had told me 2.5 years ago that eventually on MotorInc First there'd be an episode that will refer to the Smelly Cat song, I would not have believed it, but here we are today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, quick summary. Today we're talking about the Kia Syros. The first thing Kartikeya shocked me with is that while the pictures don't really show it, this is actually a very big car. It's on a platform that is sort of like the Sonet platform, but it's been stretched in length. The track is wider. It's actually a bigger car to the point where you should remember it's taller than a Creta. and it's a physically larger car than a Sonet. This is despite the fact that the prices start only a lakh above the base Sonet, but they go beyond the Sonet, and the car starts at 9 lakhs and it goes all the way to 17 lakhs. Now, in the car, you will get two engines, one the turbo petrol and the diesel. The diesel, you can get the automatic only on the top version. The manual diesel appears in a couple of low variants, and of course the turbo petrol spans the whole range. Kartik is really happy with the feature loading of the car across all of the variants, all the way from the bottom to the top model. The top model has 17-inch wheels, which Kartik was not too happy to drive because this is a 120 kilo heavier car than the Sonet, for example. Suspension has had to be retuned, but they've not quite got the suspension right. So it's a little bit weird where it can feel firm in certain situations, but at higher speeds on the highway, it can also feel floaty. So he's not fully convinced. But the pattern is Kia cars generally come with these weird suspension setups at the beginning. And then about a year and a half later, Kia quietly updates these suspensions. Then the cars get really good. So our recommendation is, if you do like the Syros when you drive it, if you can afford to wait a little bit, wait, there will be a better suspension setup just by the pure history of the Kia brand in India.
Yeah.
Back to the variants again, very, very well loaded cars. The top car has panoramic sunroof. It's got a ventilated seat. The backrest is not ventilated, but the second row seat is ventilated. The front row is fully ventilated, etc., etc. Kia always does really smashing cabins. And again, Kartikeya says they've raised the bar on the cabin again because the materials they've chosen, the way they've deployed them, everything looks amazing. But what you're not expecting is how large this cabin has become. The reason why the car looks like a large cardboard box in some ways is because cardboard boxes are very, very space efficient. Because the walls are straight, you can use all of it. Kia's taken that idea and turned it into the Syros really, really well. Kartik had to reach out to the inner rearview mirror to adjust it, and he was like, wow, that is high and far away from me. That's the kind of space the front rows have. The rear seat reminded him strongly of the Honda Jazz. They move up and down, so you can adjust how much space you want to use. The seat squab reclines quite a bit. You can decide how you want to play this. In some senses, it almost feels like the best parts of a sedan were taken into this car. You should remember, if you recline the back row a lot, it eats into the boot space. You have to work that out, but the boot space is not cramped either. This is a really nice and large boot too. So the biggest asset this car has is a premium feeling cabin and an incredible amount of space. Just be aware that whatever you're doing inside the car, please be thinking this through, because people can see you inside this car. There is a massive amount of glass area. I'm not suggesting that you're doing something unparliamentary in your car. I'm just saying, if you're digging your nose at a traffic light, this is the car in which you'll be the most visible digging your nose, because it really is a very airy and large cab. Overall, he says the fundamentals of this car in terms of space, the sense of premium and luxury, etc., they're all in the right place. But what gives us pause are two things. One is the design. It is a little bit out there. You may react well to it or badly. And two, this is not the greatest suspension setup for such a family-oriented car with so many of the basics in the right place. If the suspension was better, this would be a lot easier to recommend. The underlying theme that I want to highlight again and again, that Kartik has reiterated, is do not think of this as an enthusiast-oriented car. This is a pleasant car to drive. It covers all its basics really well. All the engines work really well, but in an impersonal, slightly functional way. So if you'd like to drive it in traffic, will you struggle with it? Absolutely not. But will you look forward to driving the Syros and having a great time and cornering it like this? No, that's not what it's designed to do. That's the upshot of the Kia Syros. We are waiting for this car to come back, and then we can test it in familiar conditions and then really put a fine point on what the suspension will be like. Kartik's recommendation is, if you go to the showroom, the real feature loading starts at a variant called the HTK Plus. This has 16-inch wheels, might actually have better suspension quality. The diesels already show a little bit more control than the petrols do on the Syros. The top model is the HTX Plus. That's the one with all the features. That's the one he had the most trouble with in terms of suspension. So when you go for a test ride, if you can, do get a sense of what the middle models with the 16-inch wheels are like. There is two automatics in this. There is the DCT, which works really well. There is the torque converter, which comes on the diesel. Kia is not offering the IMT on the Syros on either engine, saying that demand is sort of fading and people are perceiving it in a way that makes it unpopular. So they're not pursuing the IMT for the Syros right now. The other idea that he brought up is that the Seltos is probably about a year away from the facelift. And the reason the Syros is the size and the price it is because when the Seltos become slightly larger, slightly more luxurious and slightly more expensive, then suddenly where the Syros goes and fits into the Kia lineup in India today, that will start to make sense. What I've missed out is the screens inside. There are two of them. On the top model, there are three of them, and the third screen makes absolutely no sense at all. It just duplicates the air conditioning controls It's basically, as he said, transfer funds today. It's a way to get more money out of you. It does nothing else. But it has the same system that the new Kia Carnival is running. So the system actually runs really well. And full compliments to Kia. Finally, from the base model onwards, we have wireless Android Auto and CarPlay built into the Kias. It's always been wired so far. I think Hyundai also is the same. So this is the first Hyundai Kia combined car where wireless Android Auto and CarPlay are there available from zero. Amazing, guys. I am so blown away right now.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No, that's one point.
So that's the quick summary of the car. We're not super impressed, but if you're looking for a spacious family car, you don't really care about enjoying your driving, you just need a functional car, this might actually work. Go get a test drive. So Karthik put a post on his account on MotorInc Circle saying, do people have questions about the Kia Syros? We have some questions from them. So let's find out.
Right now, I've got a question from Nippon Tradamas.
Nippon Tradamas, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody who can predict what Japan is about to do. Dude, I need to call you.
How stress-free is the cabin and drive for an older driver? My dad's had enough of manuals in his lakhs of kilometers of driving and likes the ease of automatics. Is it a better experience than what the Exter offers? For sure. The
Better than what the Exter offers?
Yeah.
How is that
Yeah, the Exter is a smaller car, so it could be more convenient if it's just a city runabout. But the Exter, as a wider use case, is not a great pick because of the rear suspension, because of the engine. The 1.2 is a little city use is where it's good. This engine with the turbo petrol and the dual clutch, 100% will be far better.
Yeah, I'd ask your dad to go get a test drive and see what it feels like. And again, middle model and top model both. You'll get the automatics in both. You'll get significant numbers of features in both. See which one suits your purpose better, primarily from the suspension front.
Would the interior design still manage to wow for low variants? Now, this is another thing that's hats off because they have, Kia is doing color combinations for as per variants. They have some cool colors for the lower variants also. And again, with the same kind of sophisticated and
nice,
stylish design themes. So I think lower variants also in the cabin will be good.
All right.
Yeah. Since, this is Himanshu, since the head and tail lights are mounted at the extreme corners of the car, does that make them vulnerable?
Yes. The whole car is vulnerable, bro.
And you should keep in mind when we also talk about ADAS from a practicality, usability standpoint. You may think of it as a, hey, it's okay, man, I'm getting it. It's not a big expense. But remember, if you lose one of your ORVMs, the replacement cost won't be in 5,000-10,000. It'll be in many tens of thousands because there are sensors in there, there is special glass in there. So all of that comes into play. So all these things are cool when you buy them, but living with them is another factor, and keep that in mind.
And I would not worry too much about damage on cars as a way to buy or not buy a car, because damage is going to happen in a crash. That's what you buy insurance for. I'm just hoping you've bought comprehensive insurance so that all of this is not really such a big deal.
NDR is asked, does it look like a Wagon R? Honestly, no.
Wagon Type R.
Okay.
But did you think of it as good looking, except for the back, which you said looked like the Kia Soul?
No.
Just striking or distinctive?
Just the face, if you look at it dead on, it looks nice.
Okay.
But you start moving to 3/4.
So as long as it's a 2D shape, front or back, you're okay. As soon as it becomes a 3D shape, you're like, whoa.
Like the rear, I liked. The front, okay, fine. It's new. But the second you start moving to the side and you start looking at what's happening with the wheel arches and all of that, I think it doesn't work.
Okay.
Not for me. Since it's, so Rahul Allen has asked, since it's more of a travel car with comfort in mind, does the diesel make sense for the first time? Yes, it does. If you are somebody who's traveling a lot, if you're spending more time on the highway, the diesel will make sense. And here I am going to give this, we have been reiterating this time and again, saying that diesels for city use should be treated as a no-no.
Correct.
And we are hearing more and more instances of people having expensive repair work done on their diesels because of DPF issues. So all that, this is something you should definitely think about. If you're getting a diesel, yes, the economics of saying, you get a few more kmpl, it costs lesser per liter, but keep in mind, if it is not used how it is meant to be used today,
Correct.
at some point there will be a correction.
Correct.
Okay. The turbo petrol, and he continues, the turbo petrol on the Sonet is great, but the Syros has a different mood to it, and I'm not sure the turbo petrol is the one to go for. I'm very interested in the Syros for its poor man's carnival vibe. Dude, very close. It's a Carens. I think of it not as a poor man's, it's a mini Carens. That's how I think about it. Now, if they just get the suspension again, okay, so skip that part. So yeah, I mean the turbo petrol for most people will be the best option.
Got it.
There's no two ways about it. If I were to get one today, as much like, let's take the Karens for instance. My family after our road trip, as I put on circles, they loved it. We really enjoyed the drive down. Beautiful car.
Correct.
The car that I would want to buy is the turbo petrol Karens.
Got it.
But the suspension is the reason why I would not get one.
Got it.
Right? In this case, with the Syros, the turbo petrol is the engine that will make more sense for most people because yes, city fuel efficiency will not be as good as the diesel.
Yeah.
On the highway, they'll be reasonably
But when you're damaged or perpetually diesel particulate filter gets clogged and you have to pay for that, this economy thing will come right back to square one, won't it? No?
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so those are the few questions that were there.
I have two disruption ideas.
Bolo.
I think we can quickly change this industry. We're going to make a conference call
Okay.
between Kia, Citroen.
Uh-huh.
We'll say, Kia, please teach Citroen how to package your variants. Citroen, please teach Kia how to do the suspension.
Gosh.
And then suddenly you'll have, wow, what a Carens, and wow, what a Bison.
Dude, I've gone wow and exploded with joy in my head just at the thought of it. Brilliant idea.
Yes. See, I have nothing to do with cars. I don't even like them too much. I'm happy to mediate this call.
Yeah. Oh man, can you imagine what that would be? Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
The other idea I had,
Huh?
this is you and me only, okay? We're going to create MotorInc Gadgets Incorporated. Okay? What we're going to build is a series of slightly adjustable cradles for tablets. And it will take all kinds of tablets from your cheap 8-inch tablet that you get for 3,000 rupees on Amazon all the way out to a 2 lakh rupee 2 terabyte iPad. We will basically fit it into any car you buy, obscuring any screens they've put. I will in one shot get you a better screen. A screen that you can carry with you wherever you go, so it'll do a lot more than what it does in your car. CarPlay, the whole device is there. Yeah.
You know, okay, dude, since you brought this up, don't steal my idea, okay? You know what? So this is called BYOD, bring your own device, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that with a modular music system. So imagine speakers which are, you get those portable speakers which are round, which is pretty much the shape of a 1 liter bottle.
Correct.
So imagine fitting them into the door pockets. And your iPad, you connect them all, you daisy chain them, and you have a kick-ass sound system in your car, no matter which car you have.
Take the base Syros, go up to a guy with the HTX Plus and say, how is it that my music system sounds better than yours? And my car has a larger and better screen than yours too.
So, MotorInc Gadgets.
MotorInc Gadgets Incorporated. MotorInc Gadget Inc.
Sorted. Good one, man.
If any one of you calls it MIGI in the comments, I will see you. Migi. What a terrible name for a company.
I actually liked it. Migi.
Yeah. So, are we done? We're just like laughing.
Yeah, done.
Okay. So this time we've discussed the Miros, the Mi Joey. No, sorry, the Syros, the C Joey, the C Phoebe. Only C Monica has not made an appearance on this episode. All the friends are here.
Rachel bhul gaya tu.
Did you like Rachel? I
don't know. Even I didn't like Rachel. Yeah.
Okay, now we have fully distracted ourselves.
Sorry.
That is the story of the Kia Syros. I hope we've answered all your questions. If we haven't, please do leave us a comment. You can do this anywhere you like on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or our app. We prefer the app because it's just easier for us to track comments and respond to comments there. There's also a section there called Ask an Expert, where if it's a very complicated query, you can ask it there. And what we're able to do is sometimes you can edit the question to complete your thought if required, and we can assign that question to multiple parts of the app, so it will appear in a lot of relevant places. It really helps. It's fully private in the sense, if you ask me what you think is a dumb question, but I think is actually a very, very interesting question, I can show it to people without revealing who it is, so your privacy is not violated in any way. So please do try out Ask an Expert. If there's anything else, you know where to reach us. Thank you so much for watching MotorInc First.